She did everything right. Good grades. Steady job. Never missed a payment. Never took a shortcut. Never lied on a resume, never skipped a bill, never once did anything her own mother wouldn't be proud of. She's 41 now. And she has less saved than the guy 2 cubicles over who got fired twice. Twice. He also gambled on a startup that somehow worked out. She never gambled on anything. She played it safe, every single time, exactly like she was told to. That shouldn't be possible. If the world worked the way we were taught it works, good behavior gets rewarded. Bad behavior gets punished. That's the deal. That's the whole deal we grew up believing, whether anyone ever said it out loud or not. So what happens when the deal is broken? By the end of this video, you'll know exactly why good people stay poor. Not because they're lazy. Not because they're careless. Because 5 specific things were working against them the entire time, quietly, in the background, and almost nobody ever named them out loud. Let's start with the one hiding inside your own head. In the 1960s, a psychologist named Melvin Lerner ran a strange experiment. He showed people footage of a woman receiving painful electric shocks. She'd done nothing wrong. It was staged, an actor, no real shocks at all. But the people watching didn't know that. As far as they could tell, they were watching an innocent woman suffer for no reason. Here's what happened. The longer people watched her suffer, the more they started to believe she deserved it. Not because she did anything. Because their brains needed her to. Some of them decided she must have been careless. Others decided she must have brought it on herself somehow. Nobody in that room had any actual evidence for either idea. They invented it, on the spot, because the alternative was worse. The alternative was a world where bad things simply happen to good people, for no reason at all, and nobody can fully protect themselves from that. Lerner called it the just world hypothesis. Most people carry a deep, quiet assumption that the world is basically fair. Good things happen to good people. Bad things happen to bad people. It's the plot of nearly every movie you've ever watched. It feels true. It's comforting. It's also the first wrong belief keeping good people poor. Because if you secretly believe the world rewards goodness, then poverty starts to feel like evidence. Evidence that you didn't work hard enough. Weren't smart enough. Weren't good enough. Even when none of that is true. Even when the actual explanation was never about you at all. That belief doesn't just hurt. It hides the 4 actual causes standing behind it, the same way blaming the woman in Lerner's experiment hid the researcher who was actually responsible. Cause number 2, the wrong environment. Picture growing up on a street where nobody owned stocks. Nobody talked about investing at the dinner table. Nobody's parents left them a house, or a business, or even just the casual habit of checking an account balance without dread. You weren't taught the wrong things there. That's the part people miss. You just weren't taught the right ones. Financial behavior spreads through people the way an accent does. You don't choose it. You absorb it, from everyone standing near you, starting before you could even read. Move that same person, same brain, same work ethic, to a different zip code, surrounded by different habits, different conversations, different casual assumptions about what's normal, and the outcomes shift dramatically. Not because their character changed overnight. Because their inputs did. Nobody warns you that where you stand quietly sets the ceiling on how far you go. Nobody hands you a map of your own neighborhood and says, this is roughly how high you're allowed to dream here, statistically speaking. But the data behaves as if someone did. Researchers who track economic mobility across the country have found something almost eerie. Two kids with nearly identical talent, born the same year, can end up on wildly different income paths depending on which county they happen to grow up in. Not which state. Which county? Cross an invisible line on a map, and a child's odds of climbing into a higher income bracket as an adult can shift dramatically, up or down, without that child ever making a single choice about it. That's not destiny. It's exposure. And exposure can, eventually, be changed. Cause number 3, and this one is almost cruel, the system sometimes punishes you for trying. Picture a single mom on public assistance. She's been offered a promotion. A real one. 50 cents an hour more, maybe $1. Her manager thinks she's earned it, and she has. She should take it. Any good person would take it. Every instinct she has says take it. Here's the trap. That raise can push her income just over an invisible line. And the second she crosses that line, she can lose far more in benefits, childcare help, healthcare coverage, food assistance, than the raise ever gave her. Researchers who study this have measured it directly. For families sitting just above the poverty line, the effective tax on that next dollar earned can run past 50%. In some documented cases, it's climbed past 90%. Read that again. 90%. Take the raise. Lose the childcare subsidy. Lose the healthcare. Do the math at the kitchen table at midnight and come out behind, actually behind, for having done the responsible thing. So some people quietly stop raising their hand. They turn down the extra shift. They ask their manager, politely, to please not put them up for that promotion this year. Not because they're lazy. Because the math punishes ambition, and somebody who's already exhausted doesn't have the energy left to fight math. Cause number 4, nobody taught her the rules of the actual game. As recently as 2020, only about 8 states in the entire country guaranteed a personal finance class before graduation. 8 out of 50. That number has climbed since. States have scrambled to fix it, but scramble for a second and think about who that leaves behind. Anyone over roughly 25 years old right now almost certainly graduated with zero guarantee they'd ever be taught how money actually works. Not a gap in intelligence. A gap in the curriculum, inherited by an entire generation at once. Meanwhile, studies show barely half of American adults can pass a basic financial literacy test today. Not because they're unintelligent. Because nobody ever sat them down and explained what a credit score actually measures, or how interest compounds against you instead of for you, or what a W-2 job silently does to your tax bill compared to owning something instead. One single semester of personal finance in high school has been linked, in later life outcomes, to something in the neighborhood of $100,000 in lifetime financial benefit. One semester. $100,000. And most people alive today never got the semester. They got algebra twice and never once got a class on what their own paycheck actually meant. You can graduate with honors, top of the class, valedictorian even, and never once learn how money actually moves. That's not an accident. That's a gap. And gaps get inherited, the same silent way an accent does. Cause number 5, the financial system was never really built around a paycheck. It was built around collateral. Picture 2 people walking into the exact same bank on the exact same afternoon. Same income. Same job title. Same monthly bills. One of them owns a home, some stock, a small cushion of assets. The other owns none of that, just a steady paycheck and a clean record. Ask for a loan with no assets, and the bank sees risk. Ask for the exact same loan holding assets, and the exact same bank seize opportunity. Same person, functionally. Same income, dollar for dollar. Completely different set of rules, applied instantly, before either of them says another word. Wages have also stopped keeping pace with what workers actually produce, quietly, over decades, without a single dramatic headline announcing it. Worker productivity has climbed steadily, reliably, year after year. Typical pay hasn't climbed anywhere near as fast over that same stretch. That gap didn't vanish into thin air. It went somewhere. Just not into the paycheck of the person who actually earned it. Stack all 5 of these on top of each other. A belief that blames the person instead of the system. An environment that never modeled anything different. Incentives that quietly punish the exact ambition we praise. An education that skipped the one subject that mattered most. A financial system built for people who already had something to put up as collateral. None of that is laziness. That's architecture. Go back to her for a second. 41 years old. Every box checked. Watch her run all 5 of these causes through her own life, one at a time, and something starts to shift. The belief that she should have known better, gone. The environment she grew up inside, never her fault to begin with. The raise she once turned down because the math genuinely didn't work, not weakness, just arithmetic. The class she never got to take. The collateral she never had. None of it was a referendum on who she is as a person. And here's the part that should actually make you angry: architecture like that doesn't just sit there waiting. It repeats. A child raised inside it absorbs the same beliefs, walks the same environment, inherits the same blind spots, and steps into the exact same 5-sided trap their parents never had a name for either. Nobody hands it down on purpose. Nobody has to. The architecture does that part on its own. So what do you actually do with this? You stop asking what's wrong with me. That question was never fair, and it was never accurate, and it has been wasting your time for years without you noticing. You start asking a sharper one instead. Which of these 5 is genuinely working against me right now? The belief that failure equals character? The environment setting my ceiling without my permission? An incentive punishing my next raise? A gap in what I was taught? Or a system asking for collateral I was never handed in the first place? Name the actual one. Not the vague one. The real one, specific to your own life, your own account balance, your own family history. Because the moment you can name it, it stops being a mirror. It becomes a map. If it's belief, start noticing the sentence in your own head the next time money goes wrong. Notice whether it sounds like I failed or whether it sounds like something in the system just worked against me. Both can be true at once. But only one of them keeps you stuck in shame instead of moving toward a fix. If it's environment, go find one person, just one, who's doing the thing you want to learn, and get close enough to absorb their habits the same passive way you absorbed the old ones. Environment can be redesigned on purpose. It doesn't have to stay inherited. If it's incentives, run the actual math before turning down an opportunity out of fear. Sometimes the cliff is real. Sometimes it's smaller than it looks, and the fear of it is doing more damage than the cliff itself. A single conversation with a benefits counselor, before the raise, can tell you which one you're actually facing. If it's education, you just spent the last several minutes closing part of that exact gap, on purpose, for free, which already puts you ahead of where you started this video. And if it's the system itself, start building toward collateral deliberately, in whatever small form is available to you, instead of waiting for a paycheck alone to eventually be enough. It won't be. It was never designed to be. Maps can be redrawn. Good people were never the problem. The 5 things standing quietly behind them were. And now, for the first time, you know every one of their names.